You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
Are you ready for this? Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. It's Wednesday, June 10th, 2015, and welcome to the BCS Experience. History, arts, culture, politics, in review and discussion. I'm Byron C. Saunders, your host with the most. The BCS Experience takes a look at our rich history, African American history. We're going to share with you some known and unknown historical facts and information from the past and connect the dots on how they have impacted on our present day events and how they will definitely shape our future as African Americans in this country and around the world. The BCS Experience, history, arts, culture, politics, in review and discussion. This is Internet Radio and will be aired live every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. from the studios of the Iron Metropolis Images on the GoPro Radio Network. You see, I'm really excited about this opportunity to talk to you all across the country and around the globe. I want you to tune in every week on your computer or your phone. I want you to become a loyal listener. And I personally invite you to lend your voices to this radio talk show to express your opinions on my weekly topics. This is social network radio at its finest. Now here's the number for you to call in to be a part of the discussion. Call 347-884-9839. Once again, that number to call is 347-884-9839. All right, this week's topic, oh my goodness, African American documentary filmmaking and the importance of recording our history, our story, capturing the truth of our history and presenting it so the real story gets seen and recorded. Ah, yes, very important documentary work. All right, my show is the new Underground Railroad Express. Next stop is your neighborhood. All aboard to freedom and to freedom land. But before we meet my featured call-in guest, a little bit of history so we can kind of connect the dots and put it all into perspective. Okay, the date, it's a Monday. It's June the 10th. It's 1895. You see, on this date marks the birth of Hattie McDaniel in 1895. She was an African-American actress, one of the greatest American character actresses. Hattie McDaniel was born in Wichita, Kansas. She dropped out of school in 1910 to join a minstrel show and toured with minstrel shows and the vaudeville circuit until the onset of the Depression. McDaniel spent about a year singing in Milwaukee before moving to Los Angeles. There, her brother found a part for her on a radio show called The Optimistic Do-Nots. Hattie's had a film debut in 1932, singing a duet with Will Rogers in the 20th Century Fox film Judge Priest. She appeared in many films for the remainder of the 1930s and on through the 40s, and performed on numerous radio shows, including on The Eddie Cantor Show and Amos and Andy. In 1939, Hattie McDaniel won the Best Supporting Actress Academy Award for her performance as Mammy in Gone with the Wind. Other significant roles include Queenie in Universal's 1936 production of Showboat and Emily Hawken in Selznick's Since You Went Away. In 1947, she found a regular part on radio in The Beulah Show. And in 1951, the show left radio in favor of television, and Hattie stayed with the show until her death from breast cancer at the age of 57 in 1952. That show, The Beulah Show, was America's first African-American television show, 1952. Okay, see now, I want to hear from you. Let's connect the dots and make sense out of it all. Let's call me, 347-884-9839. Once again, that number is 347-884-9839. All right. Tonight, I have a very special guest that's joining us. Joining me in the studio as my featured call-in guest this evening is Lorna Lowe. She is a filmmaker and lawyer based in Boston. She began her career in television and film in the early 1990s, first in series development of MTV networks, in publicity at E! Entertainment Television, then as a special effects production coordinator at Sony Pictures Image Works. Of course, Lorna left Sony in 1997 for law school at the University of Southern California. Now, while at USC, she became judicial extern for the Honorable Consuela Marshall, represented incarcerated adults through the Post-Conviction Justice Project, and completed an international law program at the Sorbonne in Paris. Now, as law clerk for the Alliance for Children's Rights, Lorna represented American children seeking emancipation and immigrant minors seeking asylum in the United States. Herself having been in the foster care system for nearly a year before being adopted through Boston Children's Services in the early 1970s. The rights of children became a particular interest and eventually a professional focus, joining the Committee for Public Counsel, Children, and Family Law Trial Panel as a private attorney in 2003. Now, in 2012, Lorna's law practice expanded to include her passion for history and art. Inspired by the landmark case United States versus Portrait of Wally, Lorna began partnering with a private New York-based firm in representing organizations initiating policy change in Washington around cultural property losses during wartime, and heirs seeking restitution of art looted during the Nazi era. Now, while at the Alliance, Lorna formed Lorna Lowe Documentary Films, formerly Low Road, a production company focused on social issue documentaries, and produced Shelter, a personal documentary on the after effects of her search and reunion with her biological family as an adult. Shelter premiered at the Boston International Festival for Women's Cinema, was named Best Discovery by the Boston Society of Film Critics, and was released theatrically. Now, while producing her second film, Romeo, which is about to be premiered at the Museum of Fine Arts Boston, it's a film about a Cambridge man dedicated to rehabilitating batterers. Lorna became a filmmaker in residence at WGBH Boston and became the first recipient of the Accelerating the Creative Production Grant from Women in Film and General Motors. Lorna is a member of the Board of Trustees of The Flattery, a nonprofit media arts institution dedicated to the support and exhibition of documentary and independent film. Oh my goodness, what a resume, what a bio, what a beautiful woman, what an interesting story. It should be a film itself. Welcome, Lorna Lowe, to the BCS Experience. How are you this evening? Hello, Lorna. How are you?
Yes, I'm great. How are you?
Well, I'm blessed and highly favored. Your story is so amazing. And just to mention, because not just your story internally and externally, because I've known your father, Edgar Ward, for years. Edgar worked in my theater company in Just Us Theater in Atlanta, Georgia, and I never knew until last week that he had this very famous daughter who's doing all this amazing work. Congratulations, and tell us more about this person, Lorna Lowe.
Thank you. About me or about
Sure, about you first.
The special star in my film?
Well, we'll talk about the film and the special story, but about you, your life's journey. I mean, what an incredible story all to itself. And then to be
thank you.
Then to be put into a documentary, producing a shelter. I mean, what gave you the moment where you decided now is the time to engage your life story as a film documentary?
Well, I've always been obsessed with film, with movies. I mean, ever since I was old enough to carry my own Blockbuster card, I've been watching movies by the armful. And that's part of the reason why I got into the film business and moved to Los Angeles. When I was in law school, it was around the time that I had reconnected with my biological family and was trying to think about a way to tell this story. I originally started doing some writing, wrote a screenplay, and then figured that the real people were much more interesting, and so why not see if I could engage them in being part of the process.
Well, your stories...
And so...
Yes, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. So thankfully everyone was on board, and that ended up being the subject matter of my first film.
And an excellent story. Would you like to share some of that? Because from my conversation with your father the other day, I didn't realize how close your story, because, Lorna, quite frankly, documentary work, and I've done documentary work, and the stories of our African American heritage has really never been exposed and told in a manner that tells our story the way it should be told. And perhaps documentary work is the first step of getting the story into a next phase, which is a feature film. Your life story is a feature film, already written.
Yes, for better or for worse.
I mean, we look at 12 Years a Slave, and we know that story, written by the gentleman himself in a portrait of his own life. Look how long it took to get to be a featured film, and yet that was written back in the 1800s. Now your story is taking that step, preserving your family history, reaching out, connecting to biological parents along with your adoptive parents, and realizing not just the social manner in which it all came together, but also realizing within your family ancestry, there's some very important people who have done some great things that you are a part of. You stand on the shoulders of great heroes and sheroes. Would you like to talk about that?
I absolutely do. Sure. It's very interesting, and I think one of the fascinating things for me when I actually met my biological parents was how close we've always been, in proximity and logistically to one another. I was born and grew up in Boston and lived in the area here, went to the schools here, and it wasn't until I met my biological parents that I realized that my mother was actually not from Boston, but was here for high school, and that's where she became pregnant with me. Mm-hmm. And our lives were quite parallel. Some of the things that we did were identical. So it was very, very interesting. When I decided to move out to California, I had a conversation with my father, with Edgar, and he said, by the way, we have a cousin who's been out in Los Angeles, who's been acting for a number of years. You should give him a call. And so he told me that, basically our cousin was Meshach Taylor, who passed away last year.
Exactly.
He was on that show, Designing Women, for quite a number of years. And then when I went out to Los Angeles, Meshach welcomed me into his family. I lived with his wife and his kids for a couple of months before I got my feet under me. And Meshach and I had very long talks about another very special relative of ours, Tina Turner, who is, been living in Europe for quite some time. Yes. And unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to meet. He was intending to introduce us before he passed away.
Right.
So you're right. I do stand on the shoulders of some very powerful people.
Amazing. And yet your own talents, you know, you didn't depend on
Thank
any
you.
of them. You created and pursued your law degree and other amazing achievements. Now I got to take a break here, Lorna. When we come back, I got some callers on the phone. We're going to continue your story. This is so amazing, and talking about why documentaries are important to African Americans today. Don't go away, folks. We'll be right back.
Wonderful.
You're listening to the BCS Experience on the GoPro Radio Network. We'll be right back after these very important words.
You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a great opportunity. If you have an event, product, service, talent, or something important to say, now is your chance. You can have your very own radio show. Whether you're just starting out or a veteran looking for a professional platform to enhance your presentation and following, the GoPro Radio Network is the premier place to cultivate and share new and exciting content. We can help you grow your audience and keep it growing long after your first broadcast. Now you have a voice. Call 212-696-8562 or visit www.goproradio.com, and you'll be amazed at how easy and affordable it is to have your very own professional radio show on the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
What if you can have an entire team of skilled professionals to help your business grow? Admin, accounts, marketing, and more, but only pay for the exact amount of support you need at virtually the same cost you'd pay for one full-time employee. With Virtual Professions, you can. One contact, one number gets you a team of virtual professionals for exactly what your business needs. It's 1-888-315-VPRO. That's 1-888-315-8776. Or online at www.virtualprofessions.net. Virtual Professions Incorporated, because you mean business. What if you can have an entire team of skilled professionals?
You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
All right, already. We're back on the BCS Experience. Hey, I'm Byron C. Saunders,
ready
your
for this?
host with the most. We are talking to someone extraordinary and a very special featured call-in guest, Lorna Lowe. She's a filmmaker and a lawyer based in Boston, but more importantly than that, she's a documentarian. Now, Lorna, you were telling us your story before I bring in a couple of these phone callers. I understand you were at Sony Television and in there with MTV and with E! Entertainment. Now, your route to your own company seems to have taken in some of the top-rated companies that feature film, television, and the entertainment industry. Tell us a little bit about that, and then how you decided to create your own documentary film company.
And it's kind of crazy how it happened. I was an undergrad at Howard University and actually a political science major, and realized that there was an opportunity to possibly work in television. So the School of Communications had a job fair one day, and I put on my suit and I stood in line for the table, for the MTV table, and I think the line wrapped around the campus probably twice.
Okay.
So I didn't have any communications experience on my resume, but I stood and I waited, and I was very lucky because they were starting what was called a management associate program at the time,
Yes.
where they were trying to integrate more people of color into management. So I stood in line all day with everybody else at Howard, and I got a call a week later, and I was actually the only person that they hired.
Wow.
So I was very lucky to be able to rotate through the company for a year. I started at Nickelodeon in Florida for 3 months, and then I moved up to New York City and worked in Times Square, first at VH1, and then I landed at Series Development in MTV, and we were developing shows at that time like The Real World in London, Road Rules, and I was able to work in that department with some very talented people. After a year, I decided that I was going to move on to Los Angeles, to the film business, and explore that a little bit. And I ended up getting a job as a talent assistant at E! Entertainment Television, and moved into the news department, and then worked in publicity, and then eventually got a job at Sony Pictures in the special effects department. So it's been a very windy and interesting and fascinating road lined with some really wonderful, helpful, and brilliant people.
Indeed, it has been. Now, when did you decide to start your own company?
Well, you know, I think it's just something that I'm not sure I was clear that I was going to start my own company, but I knew that I had my own ideas, and I knew that I didn't want them interfered with.
Right.
So I had spent enough time in the business to sort of realize that if you want creative control, then you have to sort of set up the mechanisms to be able to do that. And sometimes that means not taking money from different studios or producers or production houses, you know, and sometimes that means working within a lean budget at least at first. But at least for me, the creative control was paramount. So
absolutely. Now,
whatever I could do to be able to tell my own story was.
As a startup company, because this is the question that everybody wants to know. See, everybody thinks you have to have a lot of money. Now, okay. As a startup, how much did you really put in? Because you put your own money in on this, but what was your initial startup money that you brought to the table? Would you like to share that?
Oh my goodness. I don't think I know. I mean, I think it was probably the sum total of whatever was in my bank account at the time.
Okay. See, because people think because I just went to a film screening 2 weeks ago. Another young lady, independent filmmaker, Marianne Loriant, created and produced her own independent film, Rachel's Ninth Inning, and it played on Times Square. She's out of Ohio and only had $30,000 for an entire feature film. Okay, so I mean, it's like
that's awesome.
We have, and you and many more women now, especially African American women, are in this business and are creating monumental works. I mean, it's a male-oriented industry. Let's be very clear about this. And having women directors like Mr. Vey, who did the Selma, and yourself, you got your project, and Marianne Loriant, and other filmmakers who are now stepping forward and telling some brilliant stories. I mean, this is an amazing time.
Well, thank you. And I think
Go ahead.
I think, you know, when I sort of step back and think about it, and what I think about what you know, women do. I mean, women raise nations.
Yes.
So when I think about making a little film, that seems like a drop in the bucket.
Indeed. Now, you have a new piece that's coming out.
I do.
On the 18th at the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston. It's called Romeo. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Romeo is a very special film. I mean, with Shelter, I definitely grew a lot as a storyteller, made a lot of mistakes and hopefully learned from them. But Romeo is the film that I really cut my teeth on, in the sense that I tried to take what I learned from my first film and apply it into this next one. I was working as an attorney in the trial courts in the juvenile system in Massachusetts, and representing families in the child welfare system.
Okay.
And I was looking for an idea for a new film. And since I was already sort of impassioned about working within the realm of social issues, Pretty much every social issue you can think of comes through the juvenile court.
Yes.
So in one particular case, I was representing a father who he and his wife had lost temporary custody of their children because the state alleged that the children had suffered neglect by witnessing domestic violence in the home.
Yes.
So in order for the state to recommend that custody return back to the parents, what they do in all of these cases is they drew up a service plan for the parents. And on my client's service plan was for him to attend a batterers program. And until that point, I had really only heard about services for women who were survivors of abuse. So this was really quite interesting for me. So what I did, not just to be able to see what they were asking my client to do, but because I was personally intrigued, I started to observe some of the better intervention group therapy sessions here in Boston, and that's how I met Antonio.
Ah, okay. So your research led you not only as an attorney, but also to engage in a storyline based on the representation of a client whose life story as intriguing thematically as well as a documentary piece itself.
Absolutely.
Interesting, because the piece that I just mentioned that I saw a couple of weeks ago, Rachel's Ninth Inning, is also about domestic violence, about a husband who was a baseball player. And, I mean, this is a topic that is, sweeping across our nation and has to be dealt with because it's out of control on a lot of different areas. I got a caller on the line, and before I take this next break, I want to bring a couple of my callers in. Let's see who's on the line. Good evening. Welcome to the BCS Experience, and who might be on the air with us?
Marla Jackson from Lawrence, Kansas.
Wow, Marla Jackson from Lawrence, Kansas. Now, Lorna, Marla is a featured international and national quilt maker who does
wonderful.
Okay, because I think there's an element of togetherness here that I'm telling you, bringing your forces together, where she talks about the history of the past and puts it in an art form that is unique to us as ancestral because it's folk art, and telling us a current story. Marla has a brilliant story that she's currently working on where she needs a documentarian. So there's some effort here that might just be a marriage. I don't know. I could be the marriage broker here. But Marla.
Why not?
First, Lauren,
welcome.
Lauren, I just want to congratulate you. I have been sitting here like, oh my God, is this my sister?
You're sweet.
Lorna,
Thank you.
I work for the state of Kansas. I've worked in a program called Family Preservation, working with at-risk kids.
Oh, wow.
We did everything we could to keep the kids in the home. Then, I worked with the parents, and some of the kids were removed. I decided to take these at-risk kids and teach them to quilt.
Wow.
Now, Lorna.
Can you come to Boston?
Lorna, Marla's work.
I have a slave story right now I'm working on about a slave that was stolen in a raid during the Union soldiers come to Lawrence, Kansas. I have all the primary documentation that she did not want to come to the Free State. I'm in the process of documentary is being shot.
Wow.
But it is it's like I want to go and book a plane ticket right now to fly to Boston to meet with you. It's much more to this story I'm not telling. Byron will be here in about a week or so, and
this weekend.
I'm just in shock.
And in fact, and Lorna, just so you know, because my show is about connecting our ancestors from the past, the shoulders that you and people like Marla stand on, and connecting us. We got to bring our stories together. And she is not just an international and nationally known quilt maker. Her work has been in the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C.
It is in the
It is there. That's right.
Part of the permit collection.
Yes.
I mean, I've lived my life. I've given my life. I have a story that the woman was born in 1841. She has entered me, and she's got a full story.
Well, we got to take another break
Wow.
here, ladies. Ladies, I got to take another break. This is what we
Okay.
do. And when we come back, we're going to engage. I got another piece of history which I got to share with you. And then we're going to talk about what's going on today, ladies. I'd love to hear your take on what's going on in Texas, what's going on in Cleveland, Ohio, what's going on in Ferguson, Missouri, because what our cell phones are giving us today are the essence of documentary work. That's what we're going to get into. So don't go away, folks. You're listening to the BCS Experience on the GoPro Radio Network. We'll be right back after these very important words.
You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
What if you can have an entire team of skilled professionals to help your business grow? Admin, accounts, marketing, and more, but only pay for the exact amount of support you need at virtually the same cost you'd pay for one full-time employee. With Virtual Professions, you can. One contact, one number gets you a team of virtual professionals for exactly what your business needs. It's 1-888-315-VPRO. That's 1-888-315-8776. Or online at www.virtualprofessions.net. Virtual Professions Incorporated, because you mean business.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a great opportunity. If you have an event, product, service, talent, or something important to say, now is your chance. You can have your very own radio show. Whether you're just starting out or a veteran looking for a professional platform to enhance your presentation and following, the GoPro Radio Network is the premier place to cultivate and share new and exciting content. We can help you grow your audience and keep it growing long after your first broadcast. Now you have a voice. Call 212-696-8562 or visit www.goproradio.com, and you'll be amazed at how easy and affordable it is to have your very own professional radio show on the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head. You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
All right, we're back on the BCS Experience. I'm Byron C. Saunders, your host with the most. We're talking to my good friend Lorna Lowe, a filmmaker, documentarian living in Boston. She's an attorney. An amazing life story unto itself. Is soon to be a feature film if we have anything to do about it. And I've got my dear friend Marla Jackson, who's a internationally, nationally known quilt maker who's living in Lawrence, Kansas, who is also documenting our ancestors' stories by way of a folk art called quilting. Well, before we get back to them, a little piece of history. I got to share this. This is one of my favorites. Okay, the date. It's June the 7th, the year is 1943. You see, on this date in 1943, Nikki Giovanni was born. She is an African-American writer, poet, commentator, activist, educator, and publisher. She was born Yolande Cornelia Giovanni Jr. in Knoxville, Tennessee. And although she grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, she and her sister returned to Knoxville each summer to visit their grandparents. Nikki graduated with honors in history from her grandfather's alma mater, Fisk University. She is highly regarded for her militancy during the 60s and admired as one of the new black poets of the era. And during that time, Giovanni was also focusing on personal relationships. Her poems, Black Feeling, Black Talk, and Black Judgment all of which brought her national attention. She prides herself on being a Black American, a daughter, a mother, a professor of English. She recorded an album, Truth is on Its Way, in 1972, which enhanced her career as a national speaker and reader of her material. Now, during the 80s, her work took on a more global tone for humanity. Giovanni wrote an outstanding children's book, Rosa, which pays tribute to the late civil rights icon Rosa Parks. Ebony magazine named Giovanni Woman of the Year in 1970, and Mademoiselle and Ladies' Home Journal gave her the same accolades in 1971. Since 1987, she has been teaching, writing poetry, and literature at Virginia Polytechnic. Giovanni is also a survivor. Not long ago, she underwent a successful operation for lung cancer, and as a staunch and passionate critic, educator, and orator, Nikki Giovanni inspires not only her students, but also readers and audiences nationwide. And folks, you gotta listen to the quintessential piece off of that album, Truth is on Its Way. It's called Ego Trippin'. Play it, guys.
I was born in the Congo. I walked to the Fertile Crescent and built the Sphinx. I designed a pyramid so tough that a star that only glows every 100 years falls into the center, giving divine, perfect light. I am bad. I sat on the throne drinking nectar with a lot. I got hot and sent an ice age to Europe to cool my thirst. My oldest daughter is Nefertiti. The tears from my birthday created the Nile. I am a beautiful woman. I gazed on the forest and burned out the Sahara Desert with a packet of goat's meat and a change of clothes. I crossed it in 2 hours. I am a gazelle, so swift, you can't catch me. For a birthday present when he was 3, I gave my son Hannibal an elephant. He gave me Rome for Mother's Day. My strength flows ever on. My son Noah built new ark, and I stood proudly at the helm as we sailed on a soft summer day. I turned myself into myself and was Jesus. Men intone my loving name. All praises, I am the one who would say. I sold diamonds in my backyard. My bowels delivered uranium. The filings from my fingernails are semi-precious jewels. On a trip north, I caught a cold and blew my nose, giving oil to the Arab world. I am so hip, even my errors are correct. I sailed west to reach east and had to round off the earth as I went. The hair from my head thinned and gold was laid across 3 continents. I am so perfect, so divine, so ethereal, so surreal. I cannot be comprehended except by my permission. I mean, I can fly like a bird in the sky.
Wow. Oh my goodness. I mean, when first time I heard that, I almost lost my mind. I said, how beautiful, how powerful. Our African stories have to be told. And here we have a poet who is just, she blazed it. And now I've got these 2 ladies on my show, Lorna Lowe and Marla Jackson, and those who are out there listening, knowing that these women stand on the shoulders of some very powerful ancestors. They're telling stories that need to be told. Welcome back, ladies, to the BCS Experience. Lorna, I know you've heard that piece, Nikki Giovanni's piece before.
Of course.
You stand on, this is the stories that you're telling. I'm telling you. This is an amazing journey that you're on. And Marla, I got another phone caller, I understand. Let's bring them in. Good evening. Welcome to the BCS Experience. Who's calling?
Good evening, Byron. This is Edgar Ward.
Oh, my goodness. Edgar Ward. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, very well.
And I know you're proud of your daughter.
Say,
yes.
I just have to say, Byron, congratulations to you for the BCS Experience. Man, I've been following you for some time. This is my first time checking in. I wonder why.
Yes.
I'm very impressed with the program.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I was wondering, you're welcome. I was wondering if Lorna could tell us some more about the research she did for Romeo. The subject is one that's a hot spot in the news now, especially considering the number of professional athletes, for example, that have hit the news because of violence.
Yes.
So what kind of research did you do, Lorna, for the film?
Well, hello, first of all.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Well, it's interesting because Antonio, when I met him, he was a facilitator at a batter intervention program called Common Purpose, which started here in Boston in the early 1970s. And I was following him for a few years before he joined the Mentors in Violence Prevention program over at Northeastern University. And basically what they were doing is they were doing preventive work and working with athletes, doing gender violence training and that type of thing. And then eventually he branched out, and ESPN actually did a piece on him when they were working with the rookies from the NFL and Major League Baseball. So he really was my kind of entree into that whole world of how this topic is being addressed with professional athletes.
Now, Lorna, I understand the date is on the 18th of this month, 6 p.m.
June 18th.
Yes, at the
Museum of Fine Arts
in Boston. How does one get tickets for that?
That's a great venue. How did you get that? That's a great venue.
Divine Intervention.
Hello,
it's actually my favorite place to watch film in Boston, so we got very lucky.
Okay.
But the tickets are available on the MFA website, mfa.org.
All right. And is there a phone number?
The Museum of Fine Arts box office.
Yes.
You'd have to Google that. I don't have it on the tip of my tongue.
Okay, that's okay. But it's on the 18th of June, 2015, 6 p.m. at the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston. Be there or be square. I'm telling you, this is an up-and-coming filmmaker. Her work is exemplary. It's award-winning, and it's telling a story that has to be told. Now, I'm gonna segue into this next section here. I'm gonna have to take a break in a couple minutes, but I want to talk about this. What's going on across our country? You're down in San Antonio, Edgar, correct?
Yeah.
All right. Now, Texas has been in the news for the last month. Y'all wanted to secede from the nation a couple months ago. You got the floods going on. Now you want some state money and federal money, so you can't secede. You got what happened down in McKinney, Texas. Oh, my God, at the swimming pool. And thank goodness for cell phone technology, the essence of documentary work being captured on these cell phones. Talk to us, folks.
Listen, a cell phone is going to put you out of business, Lorna, because everybody's got one in their own video.
Well, they're going to
You might be right.
But they're going to need Lorna to bring all the stories together.
I will say this about I'll say this about San Antonio and Texas in general.
Yes.
San Antonio, I found over the past 15 years to be quite the hospitable city.
Very progressive.
The saying, don't mess with Texas, is notorious, but here in San Antonio, the hospitality is just fantastic.
Okay. So,
now, overall, the state of Texas, come on, Byron, you know this statistic.
Oh, yeah.
They have more African-American men in prison the state of Texas than they do in the entire country combined.
That's right.
So the mishap in McKinney, while on one hand it's got everyone aghast, really, this is Texas.
Well, you know something, folks,
okay.
And here's the history.
It was the last State of the Union to concede the Civil War.
That's right.
And that attitude is still prevalent here.
And
they were the last ones to end the chain gang. Did you know that?
And
I'm not surprised.
And historically, here's the other piece, because when you understand this history that that Marla just gave and Edgar just gave, and what's going on in McKinney, understand this. on June 19th. Ladies and gentlemen, Juneteenth is a June 19th celebration in Texas because in 1865, when the Emancipation Proclamation came into effect, it took Texas 2 years after 1865 to let the slaves know that they had been freed. This is the history of this country.
That's something, Byron. That's a phenomenon here that I just haven't been able to wrap my mind around. It's like your ancestors, folks, were slaves 2 years longer than they had to be.
Exactly.
And you're not ripping mad?
That's it.
You know, you would rather have a barbecue and listen to music than protest for reparations.
Well, there is a national referendum going on, folks, and I'm bringing it to the attention on my show. It's called the Juneteenth 2015 National Economic Boycott Weekend, starting next Friday, the 19th, throughout the weekend. I'm posting the picture on my show right now. Ladies and gentlemen, we're asking the African American community that in this country, spending $1.7 trillion annually, not to spend a single mumbling penny that entire weekend in any other stores other than African American community. Don't spend your stores at Walmart. Don't spend your dollars at Kroger's. Don't spend your dollars at Piggly Wiggly. Don't spend your dollars at any of the white stores. We have got to let folks know in this country we mean business. And Edgar, you're right. If we can cook barbecue and celebrate some watermelon, because it's going to be a grand day in Texas for Juneteenth celebration, that's where it started. But this year, 2015, dedicate your dollars to the African American community only on that weekend. Let the country and the world know we mean business, folks. And thank goodness for those young people. Revolutions start with young people. Okay? And those...
Hey, Byron,
yes.
You can also suggest that they donate to an African American nonprofit.
Absolutely. That's where all that money should go, to the African American community, so that the dollars themselves are being featured and focused in our community only. I got to take a break here. I'm probably 2 minutes over, but I got to take another break. When we come back, I'm going to wrap it up. This has been great, folks. I'm telling you that your stories are so amazing. Y'all have been listening to the BCS Experience on the GoPro Radio Network. We'll be right back, right after these very important words.
You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
What if you can have an entire team of skilled professionals to help your business grow? Admin, accounts, marketing, and more, but only pay for the exact amount of support you need at virtually the same cost you'd pay for one full-time employee. With Virtual Professions, you can. One contact, one number gets you a team of virtual professionals for exactly what your business needs. It's 1-888-315-VPRO. That's 1-888-315-8776. Or online at www.virtualprofessions.net. Virtual Professions Incorporated, because you mean business.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a great opportunity. If you have an event, product, service, talent, or something important to say, now is your chance. You can have your very own radio show. Whether you're just starting out or a veteran looking for a professional platform to enhance your presentation and following, the GoPro Radio Network is the premier place to cultivate and share new and exciting content. We can help you grow your audience and keep it growing long after your first broadcast. Now you have a voice. Call 212-696-8562 or visit www.goproradio.com, and you'll be amazed at how easy and affordable it is to have your very own professional radio show on the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head. You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
All right, we're back for the final few minutes on the BCS Experience. A really special thank you that I got to give out right now. Thank you to Tyona Washington from HSEI and Charles Sands from the Eastside House Settlement. See, last Saturday, they had a community school fair. It was wonderful. It was a wonderful event. It was called the Community of One. It was held on the 6th. It was free to the public. They had free food and everything. And we want to thank New York Senator Adriano Espaillat. She came out and was there. T-Mobile was there, and Silly Abreu was there as well. Anyway, thank you, Tylon Eusebio Washington, my producer, who is also a documentarian. We got to give proper shout out to the Iron Metropolis Images and GoPro Radio Network. If you don't know this, Lorna, please go to Iron Metropolis Images and GoProRadio.com. If you haven't already, we do filmmaking. We do independent documentary work. This is great stuff that we do here. This is a black-owned company. I'm marrying all of these agencies and all these good people together. That's how we connect the dots of our history. Like I said, my show is the New Underground Railroad Express. Marla, I'm coming to Lawrence, Kansas, baby. I'll be out there this weekend. I can't wait to see you, darling.
Hey, darling.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir, Edgar.
I had one other question for Lorna.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead. We got a couple minutes.
So you've got Shelter under your belt, and I must say that was a marvelous speech.
Thank you.
And now Romeo is off and flying. What's next?
Well, what I learned from Romeo is to not talk about my films until they're almost done.
She's getting Hollywood on us. I like that.
But I do have one. I do have one in the works.
Okay. All right. And ladies and gentlemen, just so you know, this is dad talking to daughter. Okay. So,
I knew that.
Isn't that special? I'm just so special to have y'all on my show. This is great stuff, folks. This is what I'm saying. Y'all's story is a feature film by itself.
Well, Barry,
yes, sir.
Get Lorna some money so she can produce and direct this thing and win an Oscar.
Absolutely. Now, Lorna,
that sounds like a great idea.
I'm going to let you have. I got a little blog piece that I'm going to go out with, but for the next 30 seconds, Lorna, give us the last words for what's happening on the 18th. Tell people once again what's going on.
Well, Romeo, my second feature documentary film about Haitian man from Cambridge who's working to rehabilitate violent men, is going to be premiering as part of the Roxbury Film Festival at the Museum of Fine Arts on June 18th at 6 p.m.
All right.
I hope to see you all there.
That's right. Be there or be square. Okay, here's my final piece on the day for the BCS Experience. Thank you, Lorna. Thank you, Marla. Thank you, Edgar. Thank you, listeners. What a great show this has been. All right. Jarring image of police use of force at Texas pool party. This was in the New York Times, June 8th, McKinney, Texas. No lives were lost. The incident played out at a suburban pool party, not a suburban neighborhood struggling with crime and drugs. But perhaps it was the suburban setting that helped make the images so powerful and disturbing. Now a video of a police officer pointing a gun at teenagers in bathing suits and shoving a young black girl's face into the ground has become the latest flashpoint in relations between the police and minorities. That was just the first two paragraphs of that story in the New York Times. Here's my commentary to the world. President Obama, Justice Department, Congress, presidential candidates, America. What are you waiting for to respond to this incident and others with a positive affirmation that we have a major problem of racism inside and outside of the police departments all across this nation? Are we waiting for just one more outrageous incident in which there will be a mass murders on our media and social outlets depicting children being gunned down and brutally assaulted before we as a nation say enough is enough. This has to stop right now. It's out of control, people, and if you can't see this as such, then you are not the solution. You're the problem. Period. All right. The BCS Experience is goproradio.com, your social network's live talk radio show, produced and sponsored by Iron Metropolis Images. Tylon U. Xavier Washington, producer. Brian and Kobe and Ryan, my online engineers. Y'all make me look so good. Thank you so very much. A very special thank you to the Jazz Lounge Project and Andrew Julian Myers and Mike Sargent for my fabulous show's theme music. Now, see, your support of Iron Metropolis begins and images is important to us, and there is a wonderful documentary that my producer, Tylon U. Xavier Washington, made. It's called Disappearing Voices, The Decline of Black Radio. You can get your copy. Go to www.disappearingvoices.com. Tell them you heard about it on the BCS Experience, and we'll get it autographed for you. Hey, tune in next Wednesday when my show, the BCS Experience, will be on again from 5 to 6 p.m. Coming up next from 6 to 7 is We the People with Sonny Sutherland. Check out The Global Life from 8 to 9 with Adiaga and Shay, and then the Sexy Music Show from 9 to 10. And then stay tuned for the closing show from 10 to 11, the roll-up. Hold on. Gotta take that toke. You know what I'm talking about. Then stay tuned right for the end. On Mondays now, we got the Earl Morgan Hour from 5 to 6. And then on Fridays, yes, GoPro Radio at 9 p.m. Check it out in the booth right here on the GoPro Radio Network. Hey, I'm Byron C. Saunders, and it's been all about the BCS Experience.